Hi, everyone. So today I want to walk you through what you're going to be doing next week when you have your Mursion experience. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So co-planning using Mursion. So what will you be doing? So next week, you're going to be co-planning a lesson with Miss Walker, who is a general education teacher. She teaches 5th grade. And you're going to be co-planning a lesson on the water cycle. Don't stress. You don't need to know about the water cycle. You do need to know about other things, though. So you are the general ed teacher, and she is the special education teacher. She has no experience with co-teaching or really having a lot of students with disabilities in her classroom. You may even notice her using some terms that we're not used to using, like IEP students, which we all know is not appropriate. So you have signed up in groups of 2. The reason why is honestly for scheduling purposes. It means nothing that you're with another person. It doesn't matter what class the other person is in. It's just so that we don't have too many people coming at one specific time. You will be doing your conversation with Ms. Walker for about 5 to 7 minutes. And then we have a few minutes for some reflection. And if you are in Dr. Sears' class, you will be sent your video to do a brief reflection after you're done. How is this going to help you? Well, really, the way that this is going to help you is to practice coming up with accommodations and modifications in advance for a student. When you are a teacher, you want to make sure that when you're going to meet with another teacher, you know what the accommodations and modifications are. You have to come in prepared. So this is your opportunity to do just that. It's also for practice talking with another educator, because it can be really hard, and doing that for the first time without kind of the safety net of being in doing it in a safe environment can be really challenging and really stressful. So we want to give you that practice in advance. And then finally, to practice your co-teaching strategies and talking about them. You know what they are. They are 6 of them. And you have the opportunity to come up with those strategies in advance and be ready to talk about them. How can you prepare? Well, the first way you can prepare is to talk with another classmate and role play the situation. Have them be the co-teach, have them be the gen ed teacher, you be the special ed teacher, flip-flop back and forth, and pretend having that conversation. Practice it with somebody. You have the scenario, so use that scenario. In D2L, which I will show you in a second, there's a preparation worksheet. So you can go ahead and use that worksheet to prepare in advance, write down accommodations and modifications, and be ready to go. And know your co-teaching strategies. So you have that opportunity to know what those co-teaching strategies are. Be ready to talk about them with your co-teacher. How will you be graded? Well, I do have a rubric in D2L for you. I will tell you this is more of a guideline as opposed to you have to make sure that you talk about this. You have to make sure that you talk about this. As I said, it is more of a guideline for us to be going off of. If you can only talk about one co-teaching strategy, that's going to be a problem. You need to be able to talk about more than one, and it needs to be more than just one lead, one support. And one lead, one observe. The conversation just may not get there, and that's okay too. So we want to try and get the conversation to go where we need it to, but if for some reason we can't, that's understood. So let's do this. I'm going to share with you a video of me actually talking with a co-teacher. So let me just get that up and going. Hold for 1 second. All right, so I am going to go ahead. I'm sharing my screen, and you will see me talking with Mrs. Walker. So I'm going to demonstrate this for you. I'm going to ask that everybody have their microphones on mute and have your cameras off. You'll notice how it changes the view. So now you see me, and you'll see Mrs. Walker in just a minute. And I'm going to say, start simulation.
Hi, good morning, Miss Sears, right?
Yes, it is. Hi, Mrs. Walker. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. So I understand we're going to be
Excellent.
co-teaching together this year.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. I guess.
So have you
Um,
ever co-taught before?
no, I haven't. I've heard mixed reviews, to be perfectly honest, but
Okay.
I myself have not had any experience with co-teaching.
Okay. Well, you're lucky because I've had a lot of experience with it. So I'm really excited
Okay,
that we get to work together this year.
okay.
Okay.
Um, oh, go ahead.
No, you go. You had something you wanted to say. You go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how this all works. Because I have been teaching for a while. I
Right.
taught, before the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I've been going from in person to online to hybrid to now we're back and
So
now I
many things,
have a
right?
co-teacher. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
let
so
me
yeah.
let me help you to alleviate your concern. So I'm here
Okay.
as someone who's here to work together with you so that
Okay.
we can work together for the kids and make sure that the students do the very best that they can in class.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not a science teacher, which I know you have a lot of experience in science, but I've had a lot of experience like really working with kids with disabilities and looking at like what they have to do in class and helping teachers to come up with strategies and ways that we can work together to help the kiddos to do better because we have some challenging ones in the class, right?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've had kids in the past with IEPs.
Mhm.
Granted, I will confess, this is the first one or largest group of kids with IEPs. And I don't know, I'm struggling a little bit when I was looking through them because it seems that some of their accommodations for one student seems like it would potentially be a hindrance for another, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. So why don't you tell me one of the students you're most concerned about and let's work on that student.
Okay, so one of the students I'm a little bit concerned with is Raphael,
Yep.
only because I know I try to nip any kind of bullying I see in my classroom. However, unfortunately, I'm only with them for a certain amount of time, and I don't see everything throughout the school when other teachers have them. But I have heard that has issues with uh, social and
Mhm.
dealing with other students. So that is one thing that I'm a little bit worried about because usually what I would like to do is I would have the students group up into small groups
Mhm.
to work on certain sections and have like mini experiments for the water cycle,
Oh,
just so
sure.
that we can get, a good focus on each one. But I'm worried about making sure that I have a good pairing with him. But also another thing I'm slightly worried about is Sophia,
Mhm.
because like I said, I have separate experiments, so I generally
Right.
have the kids move around so that they can get uh, some energy out. That way they have that, little transition time to kind of get out of focus and then refocus back on the experiments. But with Sophia's cerebral palsy, I'm not quite sure what the severity is
Sure.
for her cerebral palsy. At least all I see that it affects her motor skills, but I don't know to what extent.
Well,
So
I think this is going to be great because I
okay,
one of the things that I'll be able to help you with is we can use something called station teaching. And I can be
okay,
running one of the stations, one of the parts of the water cycle, while you're doing another part of the water cycle. And then we can have a third station where either my para who might be with us or the students can work independently at the third station. So that way
okay,
you and I, we both have our eyes, especially on Raphael, who sometimes we get a little concerned about. But this way, if we use station teaching, the kids can move around and we can have those small groups. And now you have another person to help you with that.
right,
So we'll be able
okay.
to easily do that. And as for Raphael, I also have him on a behavior plan. So the behavior
Oh,
plan that we have him on right now is really going to help us also because he has to be responsible for himself. And I'm there to make sure he's staying responsible for himself when he's in your classroom. So he has to check in with
okay,
me throughout the day. So when I'm in your classroom, he has me right there and I'll be checking on his behavior and making sure he's not doing what we're not what we're
S-
concerned
so
about.
is the behavioral plan something that is separate from an IEP?
It's part of the IEP, but it's an
Okay.
addition to the IEP for him because he needs one. But while
Right.
Sophia doesn't have any behavior issues, so she doesn't have that part of her IEP. She doesn't need it.
Okay.
We make it really
I was
individual.
just asking because I don't know if I have anything specific with regards to their goals and things like that. I just have that they
Get that.
have an IEP. I'm
I
sorry?
can make sure you get that. Yeah, sure. I have all of that information.
Thank
I'd be
you.
happy to get that to you. Okay, steps
Thank
and
you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. So that is in general what you will be doing when you go into to talk with Mrs. Walker next week. It's a short conversation. It's not going to be long. As I said, about 5 to 7 minutes. You'll be with a partner, with one other person. Each of you will have the opportunity to talk with Mrs. Walker, and then each of you will get feedback from either myself or Dr. Barnett. There will be a brief survey before and after you do your simulation next week, just to kind of gather some information, find out your thoughts. Also, it's completely anonymous, so it gives you the opportunity to really say what you thought about it. But this is super helpful for us as we move forward. If you have questions at all, please make sure that you reach out sometime this weekend or early next week. Make sure you do check the link in D2L to make sure you're signed up for your time. I will be emailing out to everyone shortly their times as well as their Zoom links for next week. Again, if you have questions, reach out. I look forward to seeing you all next week and meeting with you and Mrs. Walker. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.